All right, man. This is the Black Man Lab Afterflow. We got these brothers here, man. We got brother Keith Lewis from I'm a Father First, Miguel Dominguez, an attorney extraordinaire, Reverend Derek Rice from Sankofa United Church of Christ. So, brothers, we just come out of the Black Man Lab, focused on black men organizing for power. Rev, what were your thoughts, man? Reverend Derek Rice, speak to the people, the young brothers that are on campuses around the country. They're going to be hearing this, seeing this. Tell them a little bit about what that experience was tonight around organizing, something you took away from it.
The experience was powerful, man, to hear so many people recognizing that organizing is not only a necessity, but to hear that there's so many silos in our community doing work that are unsung. And so we have an opportunity to be supportive of some people. I think the most inspiring piece that I heard tonight was the brothers that came here from Black Men United, who made it clear that their responsibility is to stand in the gap for other brothers, knowing that we don't support one another the way we should. And so that's the biggest organizing nugget that I got tonight.
You talked about, we always talk about habits and rituals for black men, because what we recognize is that you are your habits, your rituals, and your disciplines. You made a point about what your habit and ritual was. You mind sharing that with some of these young brothers that are on campuses? That this might get these brothers in prison, wherever they are. Right. You know, we just want them to hear and see, you know, what these brothers are doing here in Atlanta and having this conversation. What habit and ritual did you mention today?
So my habits and rituals change often. I'm always listening for the Spirit of God. And now God has hit me real hard on the ritual of being much more forgiving and making sure that I own up to things when I have fallen short. And what I specifically mean by that is for people who are crazy enough to recognize their work as liberation work for black folks, I happen to believe that there's no task more sacred than the liberation of black people. And what I've come to understand doing that work is that it can drive you crazy if you let it. And so what happens is when people fall short of the mark that you think they should be meeting, and or when you're not going as hard as people expect you to go, it takes that I'm sorry or I forgive you to give you energy to do the work the next time around the block. And so I'm learning a lot as I keep pushing, and I think that forgiveness piece is necessary because we're already fighting the enemy of white supremacy, and we do not need to be fighting one another if we're going to keep doing this work.
Man, that leads me to you, Key.
Yes, sir.
Key, Rev talked about this habit of forgiveness. Yeah. Man, when Jermaine tells the story of how I'm a Father First was birthed out of your pain of really needing to reach and get a hold of your children and not having access to them. Man, talk about just for a moment that journey of how out of pain as a father births I'm a Father First, Unity Week, your support of Black Man Lab, your involvement in all of this stuff positive out of the pain of not having access to your children.
Yeah. Well, my first journey in the nonprofit space was Jump Right Association. I'm an ex-offender. So when I came home from prison when I was 23, I had a child. So I went from being at Mays High, Magnet Student Academy, to Westlake, to not going to college. So that's kind of what ties in the mentoring piece, because I knew that 17 through 22, I feel like if you can get a black man out of that gap right there free, you have to start before then, but if you can get him out of that 22-year-old phase. So it led into Jump Right. But when I was doing that, it was totally for ex-offenders. I was working with the Pardons and Parole Board, all the things I was looking to eradicate, the systematic oppressions that I saw held me back. Nobody cared about them. This is 05, you know, so I'm 25 years old from Chain Gang, as we call it,
right,
trying to get some people, the legislators and stuff. I didn't know nothing about that. So I took a break, started the Lewis Agency. That's where the branding and the marketing was birthed. So the journey was nonprofit, being broke, trying to help some people that nobody cared about, to working with athletes where people was throwing millions of dollars at these guys, like with Ezekiel. I'm just like, we can make money doing merchandise. Like, that's how we led to do your shirts, you know,
right,
our shirts.
Right.
Merchandise can make 7 figures, 10 figures. It's not just a hustle. So for me, turning into I'm a Father First, when I lost my children, I was doing the Lewis Agency, so I was working, traveling around with these guys, but I was just hurting from myself because I wasn't there for my children, my oldest two. So once that situation happened where a weapon was pulled out on me and I was told by another man whose own son didn't call him daddy, I was told by another brother who doesn't raise his own children to leave because, you know, we're the quickest ones to draw some firearms and things when we ain't doing nothing for real.
Right.
But a positive brother would have never did that anyway, so it never turned me against my people or anything like that, but it made me serious about I don't play with niggas. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language.
Oh,
but,
bro, it's know.
Yeah, but I don't play with nobody. You know, my passion is for real. You know, my pain birthed Jump Right. My pain birthed I'm a Father First, and it birthed my purpose. So meeting brothers like you and linking up with us from whether it's NBA or to this Black Man Lab with Black Man United, you know, they're a phone call away.
Right.
And for me, like when people try to explain with this Unity Week ATL, it was about bringing all these organizations together. But honestly, when we started Black Man Lab, I thought it would be a slam dunk to do Unity Week, but it's still not.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Man.
I don't care if you're in the middle of all the people that's supporting.
Right.
When it's time to pick up their phone to send you a cash app or write you a check or be there at 7 a.m.,
right.
That's when you're going to see who's there beyond that light right there.
Yeah. But, man, it's real.
Yes, sir.
In terms of the experience that you had as a father, as a Black man.
Ex-offender.
Ex-offender, right? Stuff that folks go through, right?
Real life.
Miguel, man, you're a lawyer now.
Yes, sir.
You had 3 sons. One of your sons is here with you tonight, has been to Black Man Lab in the past. What's the significance of you bringing your son as a father to Black Man Lab, and what do you want him, as well as other young brothers who are around the country who might see this, who might hear this? I mean, what do you want brothers to get out of this?
I mean, it's really just about exposing them to ideas, to love, to support that I never had coming up. It's really that simple. When we come to Black Man Lab every week, the knowledge, the education is not just coming from the words that are coming from the panelists. There's a whole dual education that's happening just from watching the interactions between the brothers that are here, right? Like what you did at the end tonight. You said you bumped into one brother after court. He said he was trying to do some work. You knew just who you need to link him up with. He came on the humbug, and boom, they ended up sitting next to each other. Right. And so that's a whole nother type of education that's happening for these young people that I'm hoping my child and all the other young people that come here walk away with.
Man, can I tell y'all, this Black Man Lab thing really came out of a selfish space, right? Because with Let Us Make Man, we organizing all the time around other people's children. You know how you do all of this work, you working, you organizing, trying to help other people's children, and then you don't know what's going on at the house with your own. Right. And so we said, man, we got to do something that pulls the sons of Let Us Make Man kind of together. This brother Derek Rice opens up the church, and I'm for real, we were in the basement. And you know how we losing so many every summer? We're like, oh, man. And that particular summer, I think it was about 3 or 4 people leading into the summer, 3 or 4 young brothers that was murdered. Flat out. One was on his way to, I think, Savannah State or Albany State. Yeah,
one of our boys at Best Academy.
One of your boys from Best Academy. Yeah, so that's and so we said, man, let's get all of the young brothers together and put them with some cats that we trust. Because, you could get them in a room and they could be talking around some ignorance, but to get them with some people that you trust, that you believe in, and then boom, that's how it just kind of kept the momentum coming. And so, man, I just want to appreciate you, brothers. I know, Rev, you mentioned the habit you working on. Give them a habit, Keith,
Man, for me, it's been really yoga. We did yoga yesterday at Best Academy.
What?
Yeah. Shout out to all the beautiful ladies that did the yoga with me yesterday. That kept us motivated. We had a young lady that teaches the youth yoga and breathing.
Wow.
So I probably had about 25 people with us in Best Academy in the gym. It was intended to be a back to school, but so many things had happened around the city in those silos. We had all of our organizer partners. So it was cool because it ended up being like a mental retreat for us.
Right.
So yoga and just exercising, man. After this morning when we greeted the kids at Best, I went to welcome all and threw them tires about 20 times and ran me as far as I could with these 39-year-old limbs. 39, baby. So those are my rituals, yoga and exercise now.
All right. Miguel, rituals, man. What you doing every day, man, to get, you at the top of your profession as an attorney. What do you do? And you doing your father piece and you're doing community organizing. What are the habits and rituals that allow you to do that at that level?
There's a lot of rituals and habits right now, but one that I'm really big on right now is forcing myself every day when I wake up and I see what date it is, I try to look back and figure out if that is a critical date in my life for some reason. 10, 20, 30, whatever years ago. So it might have been something on that date that happened to my mother, that happened to my homeboy who, is not with us anymore,
Right.
or happened to me personally or somebody close to me. But basically, the whole gist of it is I make sure that I celebrate that day and make sure that I'm grateful for where I am now.
Grateful.
And so just being grateful every day
Gratitude. I hear you.
by making sure I'm really conscientious of what date it is in time in terms of where I am now versus where I was. And I'll share the importance of that. Actually, yesterday morning was not only the birthday of my middle son, Lion. He became a teenager yesterday, but it was also the 20-year anniversary of my last conviction. Where, and I say my last conviction was the last time I got in trouble seriously.
Right.
And through that, decided to turn my life around. And that was really the spark. When that cell closed and then that case got resolved,
That was it.
that was it for me.
You were done with the
So
life.
so yesterday we celebrated my son's birthday, and I happened to look at the
Look
date
that
and I was like,
calendar, yeah.
hold on, that's 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes you more present and
Yeah,
more grateful for everything you're doing, every step that you see your kids take.
Yes, sir.
Man, I just want to thank y'all for this first session. We getting ready to of the afterflow of the Black Man Lab. Reverend Derek Rice, Brother Keith Lewis, Miguel Dominguez. Thank y'all, brothers,
Yes,
for
sir.
being
Thank
real,
you,
for
brother.
being real black men, for being real fathers, for being brothers in this work. And I just want us to keep doing the work together
Yes, sir.
and collectively, because if any one of us had the answer, this shit would be solved,
It
right?
will be solved.
But it ain't. So that means we still got work
we
to do.
still got work to do.
Black Man